There we go. Hey Blake, how are you this morning?
Hi, Bill. Doing well. Ready to get started here.
So again, I do apologize for the technical difficulties that we seem to be facing. But Blake, would you mind going ahead and just introducing yourself real quick and just kind of giving us I guess, who you are and your years of experience, a little summary?
Yeah, absolutely. So, hi, everybody. Blake Lucan. I am the VP of Sales here at SNCC Solutions. SNCC Solutions is a value added reseller to Siemens products focused in manufacturing operations management practices. And been with SNCC going on for about 6 years now and sit out of Austin, Texas. And I'm happy to be here today.
Alrighty, so hey Blake, let's just jump right into it. The 10 tell signs of manufacturing operations management, right? Specifically automotive manufacturers and how they may need or they can gauge if they do need a mom solution. Sign number one, lack of visibility into production processes and performance metrics. Would you mind explaining the challenges and consequences of limited visibility in manufacturing operations?
Yeah, I think when you're thinking about mom or MES in general, that's one of the biggest things that comes to mind is visibility. And one of the metrics that our customers are seeing quite a bit is planned versus actual. So what did we anticipate was going to happen and what actually happened? And being able to use that to drive decisions and process improvement or continuous improvement is kind of a huge first step within improving your operations, but also in bringing forth any sort of mom or MES systems or enhancing them. And I think that's one of the early results our customers get when they start going down this digitalization journey.
Okay. Sign number two. Yeah, I know we're running a little bit behind, and I apologize for going a little faster. But what about inefficient resource utilization and low production throughput? How can this impact, or I should say, poor resource utilization? How does that impact production efficiency and overall productivity?
Yeah, I think obviously it's important to get the most out of your equipment when your equipment's sitting idle or there's setup time involved. That's really just it's the time you're not making, you're not producing. Essentially, that's not money being made. So it's important to utilize that as efficiently as you can and to find those bottlenecks. And a lot of that comes from visibility, but also having a good schedule or a good schedule or a good plan in place. One thing I think we see a lot of is only production or manufacturing is getting more complex, and a lot of companies are adding new products into the mix that are competing for existing resources. So it's important to utilize those efficiently and get the most out of them so that you can continue to grow and expand your business.
Okay, sign number three, high levels of inventory and excess holding costs. What problems are associated with excessive inventory levels and the financial impact on the business overall? Do you mind explaining that?
Yeah, this is a one we've definitely seen over the past few years as supply chains have gotten very complex and it's been hard to manage. I think in a lot of our customers' cases, I'm certainly seeing that in in the automotive industry. We talk about having excess inventory sitting on a shelf. That's the same thing as just setting cash on the shelf. It's not moving, so you're not having that cash flow that you want. It's hard to manage those levels, I think, and even harder when you're not exactly sure when you can get material, especially maybe not as easily as it was before. So, companies have had to make decisions to buy certain raw material in bulk so that they can ensure they have that availability when they need to make those products. But again, having that visibility and being able to manage what you have on your shelf so that you can actually use that and that plays into resource utilization as well. Do I have the products that I can make against my orders on these equipment machines? So um, it's complex, but I think again it's something that's hard to manage, and you need that visibility to align all these different components, whether it's sales, finance, and purchasing, with operations as well.
Okay, and so inconsistent product quality and increased rework or scrap rates. Could you discuss the challenges of maintaining consistent product quality and the implications of rework and scrap?
Yeah, this is kind of an obvious one that you obviously want to have good product quality out there. Your customers depend on that, and obviously you don't want to rework or have scrap that it's going to just drive your costs up. So ultimately, it's a cost of goods sold. That's a metric that's being judged and measured by this. But I think it's a it's something that when you do have rework and scrap, what is that process from there on out, and then you can get into closing that loop back into manufacturing to improve that to ensure that we don't have those issues going forward.
Okay, and so we're all kind of facing this, right? But what about difficulty in meeting delivery deadlines and customer expectations for our number five sign? What are the consequences that occur from missed delivery deadlines? And then obviously having dissatisfied customers doesn't help with sales or profitability, right? Would you mind kind of just, I guess, elaborating on that, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's kind of two parts here. One we just touched on when we're talking more quality metrics, that the products you are delivering are up to your customer standards. When you look at automotive, there is a lot of tiers of customers supplying one another, whether it's tier three to tier two, even before it's getting to an OEM, before it's getting ultimately to a consumer. And the when there is a cog in that machine, it slows everybody down. There's a lot of dependencies on one another. As we mentioned before, it's a very complex supply chain. So when one thing gets behind, it has a large impact on your customers, on their customers potentially, all the way up to the consumer, as I mentioned. So I think that's something that we all kind of depend on one another, but it's really also going to drive your sales and your business with your customers if you're somebody they can depend on or not. To one, have the products there when they need it, and also make sure that they're of quality and the expectations that you hold for your customers.
Alrighty, and then sign six, back to gauging if you do need a mom solution with this ongoing digital transformation. What about manual and time-consuming data collection and reporting processes? What are the limitations of manual data collections, Excel sheets, etc., and then obviously reporting in manufacturing operations, unfortunately, including the ongoing human error? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, as we're talking about MOM or MES, I think it's clear that it needs to be clear that it's a journey. It's not something that happens overnight, and you're going to potentially invest in certain pieces. Maybe you already have that you're looking to grow upon. And I think one thing that we still see a lot of is this manual data collection or reporting. And as you said, with anything like that, whether it's paper or spreadsheets, there's opening yourself to human error, which is obviously never a good thing, and it's always an option. And then you're working with bad data. You've got maybe not one single source of truth involved in that. And then the other side of that is real-time data collection. Is this something that at the end of the day you are getting back what was actually produced that day, what you need to add back to a schedule tomorrow, what rework was done? It doesn't allow you to do reporting and address challenges or anything that needs to be handled in a timely manner. If you're able to address that when it's happening, when it's occurring, whether it's a machine breakdown, quality issues, the lower that impact's going to be. So it has a major outcome on your day-to-day business, but also, again, the human error side, that's also just giving you bad data to work with from the beginning.
Gotcha. And as they say, time is money, right? We've all heard that saying before. So number seven, sign seven. What about ineffective production planning and scheduling, which unfortunately is leading to frequent disruptions? What are the challenges, and then again, the impact of inefficient production planning and scheduling?
Yeah, there's a lot of different areas that can impact this, as we touched on with inventory and having material availability, when you need it at the right time and location that you need it. So that's a big part. There's a lot of alignment with labor, with machines, and then you want to start getting into efficiencies and decreasing setup times and those type of things. So it's a lot of alignment, as I said, and there needs to be a lot of agility to really achieve this, especially as we add more products and production gets more complex. So, I don't think it's going away. It's only getting, a harder thing to manage. And, I think that having visibility again and being able to understand where those disruptions are happening and why is how you're able to address them and resolve them without having them repeat, having that constant firefighting that you can have.
Which totally makes sense. And then if you don't have traceability, right, then it's hard to find where these hangups are or where your inefficiencies are. So sign number 8, limited traceability and difficulty in tracking production genealogy. What are your thoughts on the importance of traceability and then the challenges associated with limited tracking capabilities?
Right, and another thing that definitely falls under visibility. The more data that you have that you can go off of, the more improvements and efficiencies you're going to achieve. If you get into any compliance and regulatory requirements, obviously you need to know certain information about which machine, maybe which operator was running that machine at what time, if there was a batch of products that need to be potentially recalled. It's very important to have that information and not even nice to have, but a must have. And it's going to really help in terms of auditing yourselves and knowing that. But I think as you talk continuous improvement and looking at a MOM system as well, just having that data and reporting on that to know, again, can we close this loop of manufacturing and share any of that data back to engineering to help improve any of these potential issues that happen on the shop floor.
Okay, and sign number 9, and I'll go ahead and just say it. It's kind of the ongoing elephant in the world, right? Or at least as a consumer. What about challenges in managing complex supply chains? Again, just what are your thoughts on exploring and the complexities of supply chain management? I know you mentioned traceability and some other, you know, pertinent, I guess, details above. But again, do you mind just elaborating on your thoughts of managing the complex supply chains?
Yeah, it's one thing where there's a lot of changes in manufacturing and the supply chain has always been a big issue, like you said, sort of the elephant in the room for consumers. But you realize how many companies are reliant on one another when it comes to supply chain, and like I mentioned before, the issues that come of that when there is a challenge or something comes up, the impact it has downstream and even upstream potentially, it's huge and it's hard to manage, and there's a cost to being safe or being a little bit more lean, and it becomes a balance, and it might be a balance depending on the material that you're purchasing. Certain material might be easier to come across than others, certain vendors. So it really takes that alignment and visibility to also, what your supplier network is looking like, but also mapping that to your production and your production orders and what you have going on the shop floor to manage that correctly. So again, it's kind of that collaboration, but also having that visibility and agility to move with what you can move with.
Gotcha. And like you said, the agility, right, and the flexibility leads to our sign number 10. What about the inability to adapt quickly to market changes and then demand fluctuations? So more in depth, what in your thoughts are the consequences of being unable to respond rapidly to market dynamics and changing demand?
Yeah, I mean that's really the sort of the essence in my mind to a MOM and an MES system. It's having that smart manufacturing or sort of a flexible manufacturing model, whether that's market changes, maybe it's company direction changes, customer changes, whatever that is. It's always happening. Regulation changes, geography. There's a lot of different dynamics, and to not have the ability to manage that from agility or flexibility and respond is going to slow you down when those changes occur, and your competition's out there and they might be moving faster, and there's always business to be had when there's a change. So I think being able to capture that and win that business over immediately is huge. And the companies that are able to do that are the ones that have that MOM or MES systems in place that can help them drive that.
Gotcha, right? Which everything, or not everything, but most comes down to top and bottom line profitability. And that's at a high level. But again, I wanted to thank everybody for joining us. Just to recap, the 10 tail signs you need a manufacturing operations management or MOM solution or outline. Number one, sign one, lack of visibility into production processes and performance metrics. Sign number two, inefficient resource utilization and low production throughputs. Sign number three, high levels of inventory and excess holding costs. Sign four, inconsistent product quality and increased rework or scrap rates. Sign five, difficulty in meeting delivery deadlines and customer expectations. Sign six, manual and time consuming data collection reporting processes. Sign seven, ineffective production planning and scheduling leading to frequent disruptions. Sign eight, limited traceability and difficulty in tracking product genealogy. Sign nine, challenges in managing the complex supply chains. And then sign number 10, inability to adapt quickly to market changes and demand fluctuations. Blake, I wanted to thank you for your time today and your insight. Again, I know that you have experience hands on. So thanks for joining. And then everybody else that joined, as I mentioned up front, we were having some technical difficulties. So, transformation. But please feel free to share this, to join us for future webinars that we do have. And I hope that everybody has a fantastic rest of your day. Thank y'all.